welcome to Fans of the Forge. I'm Chris. To my left we have...
It's Sean.
And we are the Fans of the Forge. Again, Teresa's not here with us. She's away at camp for the summer. We miss her dearly. Come back soon,
She'll
Teresa.
be back.
She'll be back. But in the meantime, you get just us.
Right.
And we've decided we want to try changing things
Right.
up
So
a little
without
bit.
Teresa here, we've decided to change things up a little bit. And we're trying out a new format, and we'll see if you guys like it.
Yeah, it'll be a little different.
Yeah.
I think it should go well. So
We're kind of not just limiting ourselves to Forge and Fire wrap-ups. We're going to kind of cover some more broader stuff, but still within knife making and making in general.
yeah, exactly. So keeping within the theme, and we are not giving up the Forge and Fire wrap-ups. It's still going to be incorporated. Right. So our wrap-up.
All right. So there's an episode this week, and
Season 6, Episode 19.
the Ram Dao.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to blast through this, but still do our due diligence here and give the makers, their due.
Yeah.
So our contestants this week, we have Ben Spangler, he's a part-time smith with 10 years of experience. We have Adam Jankowski, part-time smith with 2 years of experience. Casey Kincaid, part-time smith with 3 years of experience. And Josh Navarrete, who is just a part-time smith.
Yep.
All right, so the Smiths, guess what? They're out in the cold.
They're outside.
They're outside in the snow. There's ice on the trees. Forge and Fire on ice. No, it's not a musical figure skating thing. They're just outside. So they're given coal forges and some like hand-powered tools like grinders and stuff. No big blue, no press. And they're tasked with making kukris, and the blade has to be between 11 and 13 inches long with a through tang, a 1/2 inch waist, and a 2.5 inch belly. And they must harvest steel from a snowmobile.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I was like, what? I was like, all right, so that doesn't look like fun.
No.
But, so the guys, they get into it, and wouldn't you know it, the skis are made from 52-100s, like, spring steel.
Right.
So
the other stuff you could use, maybe the spring.
Maybe the coil springs, but, they're small. There's small diameter stuff. I don't think it'd go too well. It'd be a real pain.
Right.
So for Ben, he was working on preheating his anvil, which is a good idea.
Yeah,
so,
heating up some metal and
just laying it on top. He was doing well, but he at one point overheated his billet, and luckily there was enough material to salvage what he did. I think was like at his tang or something like that, or it was somewhere where it wasn't like critical. It wasn't in the middle of the knife.
Yeah, it was his tang area.
Yeah. So for Adam, he had some difficulty starting his coal fire, but eventually got it going. He started working at the tank first and was going to move forward. Of course, I think Abbott was saying I would work the other way, start at the tip, because then you can always add more to it.
Right.
At one point, he started having some trouble concentrating on what he was doing or what he needed to work on next due to his PTSD. He did eventually get back to forging, but he didn't exactly have a kukri shape. He did quench and notice it's about 1/2 inch short of the parameters, so he welded on a piece of rebar with a few seconds left to meet parameters. For Casey, he uses a coal forge at home, so he was right in his element. Moved the steel pretty well, and they showed him heating up his quench oil before doing a quench.
Yeah.
I don't know if the other guys did or not, but that was cool.
Yeah, good method to use there.
And for Josh, he seemed a little behind in his blade shape and decided to cut his tang out instead of trying to forge it. He didn't really have the design properties of a kukri. Judge knows that, but he quenched it. And so that wrapped that up. Moving on to judging. For Ben, they said, you're safe. They didn't even really look at it. They said, you're safe. You're going to move on.
Yep.
For Josh, the defining characteristics aren't there, but he can fix the shape later on.
Yep.
For Casey, the profile is the closest so far, but he must move the choil back. And for Adam, the blade is not a kukri, and there isn't enough material to make a kukri. So unfortunately, Adam got the boot.
Yeah. So that was a shame.
Yep.
But the remaining 3, they moved into the
It's a
forge
normal forge.
to add handles, bolsters, and a butt cap.
Yeah.
So for Ben, he had a slight warp in the tang, but he does get it worked out, and he decides to go with a burn-through method for his handle, and he gets it done.
He got it done.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
They always hate it, but it worked out for him. For Josh, his spine and waist weren't defined properly or enough, and he needed to grind the shape in. He did have an issue with the tang and ends cutting up a portion off. He had an issue with the tang and ends up cutting a portion off and welding on some narrow all thread to be able to attach the handle. While shaping his handle, he accidentally ground down a little too far, and he's made a little hole in the handle. And so he's like, well, I can't leave a hole here because then they might not test it. So I'm just going to take some paper towels and some glue and shove it in there and squirt it in there and then hope it's dried in time for the testing. And that's what he did. He had to finish it the last time.
Right. I mean, what's he going to do?
For Casey, he worked on getting his choil more defined. Mm-hmm. And then he fit with a brass bolster and decided to go with a burn-through as well. And he had trouble with it.
He had a lot of trouble with it.
And Will Willis was saying, monkey see, monkey do syndrome going on right now. They're not thinking out there.
No.
But anyway, he, with minutes left, shoves the handle on and then peens the butt cap over onto it. And he hadn't done any shaping to the handle at all.
No.
And it was he just barely got it attached.
Just barely, it was down to the wire, and they didn't show him doing much sharpening of his blade.
Oh, yeah, he didn't get time to. So it was basically rough ground.
Yeah. So, testing. They're come in, and there's an ice block chop. They're going to get whacked 10 times. So for Ben, cuts through the ice, no problem. It's really heavy. The handle is comfortable, but a little small. For Josh, it's very heavy, has a small handle, but it's comfortable. And for Casey, good job with the steel, but it's not a good handle. Ben was not happy about holding that thing.
Oh, yeah, he was like...
he was looking at his hand, like, it beat my hand up. Like, it sucked.
Which
I'm almost surprised that they tested it.
I'm surprised they tested it.
Because he's like, it's going to hurt me. Like,
Yeah, you could tell that it wasn't going to be comfortable. But it was still solid, so they weren't necessarily worried about it breaking. Generally, I think it's more about if they think it's going to break.
Yeah.
But I've been messing around. I feel how different things feel when you grab the handles on them now.
Yeah.
And in trying to carve a handle to meet my hand, I found, okay. And the way I'm grabbing this, I can feel a hot spot in one spot where I can tell that would be uncomfortable of swinging it.
Right.
So I'm starting to kind of understand more where Ben's coming from when he, talks about the handles and stuff like that. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then we were at the sharpness test. It was the climbing rope slice. And for Ben, he had a heavy and smooth handle. It will cut. For Josh, it cut through the outer layer of the first rope, but didn't cut through the rest. Should that be didn't?
Through the other first rope. Oh, it did cut through the rest of the ropes. So there's 3 different.
All right, got it.
Rope things.
For Josh, it cut through the outer layer of the first rope only, and then the rest of them he cut through without a problem. It will cut. But for Casey, it did not cut.
Kind of nicked him.
It nicked him, but it was just not sharp.
Yeah.
It was just not sharp. And so Casey got the boot.
Yeah.
We moved on to round 3.
The Ram Dao. All right.
Did you see this freaking thing?
Yeah. It was
really
pretty wild.
Crazy.
Pretty wild.
It's a sacrificial weapon.
Yeah. Yeah. How about that?
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty wild. It's from the legendary Rajput warriors of India. Broad, heavy blade, flared to an axe-like projection, suited to ritual beheading of buffalo and goats.
What?
Yeah.
Buffalo?
Yeah. Sacrifice is made to the Hindu goddess of death, Kali, whose symbolic eye is often etched on the flared end of the blade so she can watch over the ceremony. How crazy is that, right?
That is so
The eye of Kali can be seen on the Ram Dao in the comic series Berserk.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
I want one of those.
Right, that's pretty cool. The length of blade must be between 20 and 23 inches in length. Must have a finial ball, a decorative eye of Kali, a demon buffalo hat, as well as a disc pommel. So that's some crazy stuff.
Demon buffalo hat?
Yeah. I want one of those.
This is so... I got to try making one of these at some point now that I know this exists. So for Josh, he started with 5160, and he started smashing the steel on the anvil to get the shape. Yeah. So that was cool. I have to try that.
Yeah.
Because he's just heating up and
it
was working and shaped it. Gave it the right shape that he needed.
Yep.
For day 2, he got his quench done, and he did notice he had a slight warp, so he went for a second quench, and then it did come out straight. And then to day 4, he carved a wood handle on the lathe, and then added in additional etching to finish off the blade, which was cool. Yeah. You see that etching done for maker's marks and stuff a lot of times. So
looked good.
It looked really good.
Yeah. For Ben, so day 1, he's outside in the snow.
Oh, that's how he works.
That's how he works with his cold forge. And he goes with what appears to be 5160 leaf spring, just like Josh. Day 2, he finishes the shape and goes inside for grinding.
Oh, he had a nice
on his little contraption that he built.
Yeah, his grinder was made of 2x4s rather than any sort of metal.
Right.
I was like, dang, I could do that.
Hey.
I don't have a welder, but I can put pieces of wood together.
Yeah, there you go. On day 4, is a little warp after tempering, but there's too much finished work left, so he can't go for another quench and try to fix that.
Right.
So moving on to testing, the kill test. It's a ram carcass.
It's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Right there.
And I think Josh is like, oh, just cut the head off. Just cut the head off. So what does Doug do? Right off with the head, like right off the rip.
Off.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Brutal.
Yeah. And you just see his slow motion just drop down. It's wild. So Doug says it's a sharp blade. It cuts deeply and has good balance. It will kill. For Ben, there's not a finial ball on the end of the thing.
Right. It's more of a point.
It's just a point. So as Dave explains, the ball can provide resistance during cuts, and it keeps it from being able to stab, so they wouldn't be able to test it evenly because it's missing that ball.
Right.
And so Ben ended up getting booted. And Josh is the winner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to Josh. I mean, either way, they both had really nice looking weapons.
Yeah.
And they were really cool looking. And I really wanted to see them both. After you see that first one get beheaded, you want to see the second one. Right? You can't just cut it off after the first one.
Right.
But, you know, there was a lot of discussion I saw on the Facebook group about this today, specifically saying, you know, really, was it not a finial? And people were saying, well, it's not.
It looked like a point. It was.
They were also saying that Josh's wasn't even a rounded. It was like it was supposed to be a rounded finial, and his wasn't rounded. It was more of a square shape. So people are, you know, splitting hairs here, I think, when it comes down to it. But I do think I would have at least liked to have seen him test it first, and then maybe if something was weird. I mean, if you
I'm with you, but I also see that, let's say something catastrophic happens to Josh's but not to Ben's, and Ben's was missing this piece, but now what are they going to say?
Yeah.
So once you start with testing, you can't then go back and be like, well, Ben, you didn't have this one piece, even though Josh is broke in half or something like that.
Right.
So, you know.
It was tough, but, you know, I guess, I mean, it does kind of make sense.
Yeah.
If
I like to see that thing. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's not a fair test if they're not all meeting the same parameters. So, it is what it is. Yep. Congratulations to Josh. And, you know, follow those guys. I'll try to make sure I get their Instagram information posted up alongside with this when we go here.
Cool.
So, that was the episode.
That wraps up that. Wrap up. Our
first segment or new thing that we're going to try here is the weekly Instagram roundup.
Yeah.
Social media.
This is where we pick a few things we saw on Instagram this past week and just talk about it and say what we thought, or what, you know, if it was cool, we talk about how cool that was, or just pick something cool.
There's a lot of stuff out there. We're going to pick some stuff out that we like.
So I'll start off.
All right.
There has been a lot of chatter about a recent Alec Steele video.
Okay.
Which was a stiletto that they made, him and Will Stelter. And you also saw, I think, Niels from Black Dragon Forge and I think Josh Smith Knives was helping with some of the work, doing some lathing and things like that, making this really crazy stiletto, which they had a neat tidbit about how it had 3 edges, and that made it very difficult for you to be able to get fixed up after you get stabbed by something like that.
It was a lethal weapon.
Definitely, and especially the size of it was so tiny.
Yeah.
Like, imagine having that little stealth weapon on you at all times, and then you could just take someone out.
Give it to Arya Stark.
Arya Stark would know how to use that thing. But it was really cool. The video series has been great, and all of the makers involved are incredible. Obviously, if you're watching us, you're probably already watching Alex Steele, but we just thought that was one of the cool things that I saw this week. So what do you got, Sean?
So I have a few things from our buddy Jay Nielsen. He's been active lately on the gram, and so I saw this today, and it's kind of like an old post that he found, dug up, and it's a meme of Will talking to Jay, and Will says, "Have you seen the Viking sword lately?" Jay says, "I chucked it down in one of the deep holes on Oak Island. Should be funny when they find it." So I'm a big Oak Island fan, and I find that amusing.
That is pretty good.
It's pretty good. The next thing that I saw the other day was, he got a package of the knives that are being hawked out there.
Yes, the Forge and Fire kitchen knives. Yes, I saw these videos that he posted.
Yeah, so he was going to do some testing with them. Not his normal crazy testing, like into a steel drum and whatnot.
I will say, I did post on our story when I saw this, saying we want to see some Jaminator pain trains rolling in, do some strength testing on these bad boys.
Yeah, absolutely. But he kept it to trying to replicate what the commercial showed. So he took a frozen steak, hacked through it, and then he was going to try to slice a tomato, like kind of freestanding on a cutting board.
Without touching
it. Because they show that. Boom, through steak, and then he just kind of did a whoosh, right through a tomato.
I honestly was pleasantly surprised by how it cut through the steak.
Yeah.
Because it was, he really slams it hard to cut through there. Yeah. And it didn't look like...
No, he looked at it and said, it did all right. But it wouldn't go through that tomato. It just wasn't really happening. Tomato was sliding on a cutting board. So they probably had it, some...
Was he mentioning that maybe they had it held down or something?
I don't know if they... I'm sure they could have. They could have had like a spike going up through the cutting board to hold it in place, or maybe just had like a rough surface for it to really get some grip on, like a piece of like almost like sandpaper, like something gritty for it to hold on to.
Yeah, just give it a little friction.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so maybe he's going to do some more testing down the road. I'm not sure. But it was pretty cool. It's kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, I like seeing Jay getting out there on Instagram and posting more stuff, because he had gone silent for a while after his account got hacked.
Right.
So he's been putting out some good stuff, and keep it up, Jay. Yeah. That's some cool video content there. One other thing that I wanted to talk about was I just happened to stumble upon another knife maker or blacksmith account / machinist account called Facemeyer Farms.
All right.
And I was just looking through some stuff, and somebody had posted about what he was making, and so I looked at Facemeyer Farms' page, and he makes these swage blocks.
Okay.
Which you think swage blocks, you're thinking...
I'm thinking big...
100-pound giant steel blocks. These are actually mini swage blocks that he's making to order when somebody wants one, and he's got a CNC machine that he's running the process on.
Okay.
He's machining these things out of steel. They look awesome, and I immediately saw it. I'm like, I want this for my shop.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to deal with this giant freaking actual, I don't have a swage block yet.
Right.
This is a good thing to at least have to practice some of this stuff. And then eventually upgrade to a bigger one if I want. But it looked pretty cool. And I went and immediately ordered one from him. So
nice.
I can't wait to get that in and start messing around with it.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah. So I just wanted to shout him out.
Yeah.
Facemeyer Farm, and he's a homesteader machinist and freelance blacksmith, maker of things. He's also on YouTube.
All right.
At Facemeyer21. So check him out. He's Kevin Facemeyer is his name. I think I'm saying, I don't know if that's how you say it. I'm assuming, if I'm wrong, sorry, Kevin, you'll have to correct my pronunciation. Okay. But I'm looking forward to using that mini swage and checking out and see how it works.
Nice.
So that's it. That's our weekly Instagram roundup right there.
Done.
So next up is the segment we're calling Tales from Infinite Forge.
Ooh.
Sounds kind of spooky.
Well, yeah, something like that.
But I like it.
Yeah.
And you kind of came up with the name for the segment, but the thought process behind it was this is what we're working on this week. And
right.
We currently have outside Infinite Forge, the forge that I put together to do some work in.
You got that thing looking pretty good out there.
Not bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some boards on the outside, making the walls look like actual walls.
Like a real shed, yeah.
I just have one more wall left, and then some
corners,
corner trim pieces, and I'll be done, man.
Good.
So that was a hell of a job, but it's like so close to done.
Well, and then you just got to figure out ventilation.
Well, for the time being,
you're all right because you got the forge outside.
It's warm enough. I can put the forge outside and then just work in the shop when I have the anvil up in the shop, and I have the vise inside on the workbench.
Right.
And I'll post what I was working on, but I basically was just screwing around. I had a piece of square stock and a piece of round stock, thinner stuff, and one horseshoe.
Yeah.
Teresa got me all these horseshoes.
Right.
And I was surprised by how much the horseshoes clean up when you throw them in the forge. It's that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it goes from being all rusty and grimy looking, and then they're just like almost perfectly clean as you're working on it. You're knocking all that stuff off.
Right.
And I was kind of working on trying to make that horseshoe into a hook. Teresa asked if I could do that, and I was like, I think I could figure it out. So that's what I was working on for forging stuff this past week, but that was on top of getting the wall boards up on the two sides, fixing the door, because Sean did help me install the door. We had a hell of a time getting it to work properly, and we hadn't completely finished because the top of the door had another one of the locking mechanisms so that you could lock it up.
Yes.
So I wanted to put that in there, and I had to reinforce the top part of the doorway.
Yeah.
So I did that as well. I reinforced the top part of the door.
Put like that header wasn't there.
It wasn't there at all.
Yeah.
So I put a header board across, and then I attached the extra lock. And then when you had that in, the door is so solid closed now.
Nice.
Like, it's pretty badass.
Good. Sweet.
And the only problem was I couldn't get the door open easily when I went to go work on it. And it turns out that they were just such off alignment enough that they was locking up. So when I went to go pull it free, it was stuck somewhere because it had locked up and sitting there for the week or so. And then I looked down and there was one spot. Remember how we did all this work to trim off the board to try to make it work? It was such a pain, right?
Yeah.
Well, there was still a little bit of interference in one spot. And that's what got stuck together. Okay. So I took some sandpaper and I just freaking hand sanded down the corner of the whole side of that one door piece.
Okay.
And then once I had that set, once I sanded it down, it would go all the way back, open right up.
Good.
So it was super simple. So it was barely much to fix that. So inside the shed, it's loaded with wood.
Yep.
But I'm thinking I could probably use the T111 as wall boards on the inside if I wanted to close up some of the walls.
Yeah.
I could even put insulation in if I wanted to and do that. So it's an idea. For the I won't just throw it out. I'll just have to keep it out of the way in the shed until I can put it up. And then what else did I made a batch of hot sauce this week as well.
Okay.
I perfected my recipe of the pineapple habanero hot sauce.
Sweet.
So, that was my week. At least that was, my evenings.
Yeah. There you go.
How about you?
What have I been doing? So I made some beef jerky last night for our giveaway.
Yeah, looks
and
good.
I did we talk about this on the show before? I'm not sure. Or maybe I just told you guys in general. It's easy to do. If you're ever looking to do this, I got the idea from Barbecue Pit Boys. They're an awesome YouTube channel. Go check them out. Basically, 1 part soy sauce, 1 part Worcestershire, some cracked pepper, and I took a top round London broil, threw it in the freezer, got it so it was easy to slice, cut it into some thin strips, throw it in there, let it sit overnight, dry it off as much as you can. I put it on the charcoal grill, try to get it to temperature around 250, let that go for like 4 hours or more, and jerky. You don't have to worry about dehydrators. You don't have to worry about liquid smoke. You don't need it. All the flavors with the soy and Worcestershire and whatever else you want to throw in there, really. So we did that for our giveaway. It was, it's not that hard to do. And it was a little bit of a challenge to do that, because the first time I had this shit on the grill all day long, like for all day on, it's like a Saturday. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Because I had it, the grill was a little warmer last night. And so I got home from work. I'm like, I got to do it, get everything going. It was kind of tough, but it was kind of done, 9, 10 o'clock. So that's cool. And then the other thing I'm trying to finish up is I have this bathtub, old cast iron tub. It looked like garbage. Someone had painted it years ago.
Right.
It's old. I'm not replacing that thing. I'd have to smash it in 1,000 pieces and replace it. That's not happening. So I took some stripped the paint off. They make a kit where you can put a new coating on it, basically, make it look like new. So I bought that. There's instructions that say clean it up. So you got to clean it with like an abrasive cleaner. You got to then sand it with some like high grit and clean it with some TSP and then tack cloth it. And then you can mix up this 2-part thing. You add the activator, mix it up, put a layer on, wait however long, put another coat on, and I think you're good to go. If you're wanting to do some more with it, I think they said you could put the stuff in the freezer so the activator like kind of shuts down. You can use that mixture for other stuff too if you have whatever's going on. So that's happening. Yeah. I hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad today, and I'm trying to wrap that up because it's dragging ass and it's getting hot, and it's just kind of. I just want to finish that up.
I hate doing that sort of work, especially in the summertime when it's so hot out. And
then I got to try to figure out how to get new fixture parts because they're all old and they kind of leak, and it's that's the next part after that. But it's getting closer. It looked good, just the paint stripped off of it. So it was kind of pleasantly surprised. But
good.
Yeah, that's my tales for the Infinite Forage.
At least from the last
Tales
week.
from the Sean Forage.
Yeah.
The Sean Tub.
The Sean Tub.
Yeah. So what do we have left for our show?
Yes. Do you want to introduce the next
All right.
segment?
So this segment we are calling BladeSpeak.
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 And we're going to kind of discuss a new topic that we may have learned this week. And we picked choil.
Specifically, what is a choil?
What is a choil? It was mentioned on this past episode of Forging Fire while these guys are making kukris. So we pulled up an article from
Blade
Magazine.
The article is called "Can you define knife choil?"
Can you define knife choil? Well, they tried, and here's what we're going with. So, blah blah blah. Where does it say? According to the Knife Encyclopedia on the website of A.G. Russell Knives, a knife choil is the cutaway area between the edge and the tang of a pocket knife blade and between the edge and the guard of a straight, aka fixed blade, knife.
Okay. So we're looking at the knife here, and we're looking at this little notch right at the bottom of the blade edge, right? So that's what they're getting at here?
Seems like yes.
Okay.
And they kind of go on to explain that allows you to sharpen the entire blade up to basically the ricasso. So it's kind of put there.
Well, so you get to the ricasso. It depends on the type of blade that it's on, because for pocket knives, it's that you can get all the way to the tang of the pocket knife and sharpen that whole thing, and then it's going to be, it's just the way it's exposed, the way you would sharpen that type of knife. But then for a fixed blade knife, it's going to the ricasso.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It's an interesting feature. So it makes it so you can keep that blade sharp. And we also saw there was a couple other images of choils that can be used almost kind of like a part of a handle.
Right. It's like a finger well for the index finger.
But the one that we saw was halfway. Part of it was blade, like it was like the swell, but part of it was blade, about half of it. The other half was where you could grip it with your finger. So it kind of was like you're holding it a very specific way if you're holding it there, so that you're not sliding your finger up into the blade.
Right.
So it's an interesting extra little handle function possibility there if it's big enough and for a particular type of blade.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because I don't know, I've probably heard choil before.
I've heard it.
I think we've talked about it before when we did our Jason Knight Tour de Forge video. But we didn't really go into details about what the different parts were. Right. And so this was something interesting to both of us, I guess, right? It was just, it identified a part of a knife that we all knew was there for a lot of knives, but never realized that it had a function, maybe. Or what exactly it was.
You may see it, it may not exist. Because you don't have to have a choice.
No, you don't have to have it. That's the thing. So you see it sometimes, and you never think about, why does this one have this and not something else? But it makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's our BladeSpeak for this week.
BladeSpeak.
And I think that's our whole episode.
I think that's it.
So that was fun.
Oh, yeah. I like it.
That was a cool format. We hope you guys liked it. Please comment below. Send us a message. Tell us what you thought of this episode. And
do you want something added?
Do you want us to, submit some ideas for segments that maybe we should do if you want us to talk about something else. Just let us know if you like this format, because if you do, then we like it too. And
we'll keep going with
We'll do it this way a little bit more. And remember to follow us on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. Those are all our big places. And subscribe and all that good stuff. And anything else?
I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching.
So,
we'll catch you next week.
See you next time.